Hey, thank you, sir. Well, good morning, everybody, from a not so sunny California. It's great to be here. What an awesome show this has been so far. Great energy, great speakers. Loved the previous speech that was just delivered. Some really fantastic points and great community. I'm watching the YouTube conversations as they happen as well. What a great energy. Fantastic. Guys, look, I'm going to be speaking to you today about money laundering in the BitMex era. I'm going to start with a small piece of housekeeping. As you can tell, I'm currently in my office at home. The benefits of COVID. So I do ask you to be patient with me. I've been doing a bunch of conferences and we occasionally get the magic of things that happen when you work at home. If you guys are really lucky, you might get a special cameo from one of my cats, which honestly jumped on my printer and scanner here when I was delivering a speech to the SEC about 2 weeks ago. So you guys will be incredibly lucky if that happens. Look, I haven't prepared any slides for today because I like to talk. I prefer to engage a little bit more and really kind of deliver something. I always find that slides are fantastic, but people just tend to get very drawn to them. And I do a lot of education and government consulting stuff. So I think it's always cooler if we just kind of talk. I guess a great place to start is let's briefly intro me. Fantastic introduction. I am the managing associate of Gresham International. We are a crypto-only law firm. We are actually the largest only crypto-only law firm in the world. We have offices all over the place, Dubai, here in the United States, United Kingdom, Europe, Hong Kong. So we really service the crypto space. We do a lot of cool government stuff. I've recently been consulting with the governments of Estonia, Dubai. We've recently signed an MOU with Paraguay. We're speaking with Bolivia next month. So lots of very cool things happening. And I guess that really sets the stage for this anti-money laundering and dealing with money laundering in a BitMex age, and a BitMex era. I guess, look, great place to start. Why have I homed in on that? Well, for those of you that are familiar with the situation, recently the United States, a combination of the Department of Justice and the Federal Bureau of Investigation issued warrants for the senior management team of the famed exchange BitMex. The reason this happened, guys, was because of very large accusations of money laundering. There's a couple of key things here that we have to remember. At the moment, these are just accusations. This is not cast iron. There is nobody saying that this definitely happened. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about both sides of this coin, pun very much intended, to really kind of understand a little bit more about what happened, what you can do as crypto entrepreneurs, crypto experts in the crypto community, and what governments are doing the other side of that. Let's kick off with what's happening. Essentially, cryptocurrencies are the biggest problem to date for money laundering and government entities and regulators across the globe. 2 weeks ago, I spoke at a conference in Wyoming and delivered a piece to some of the Wyoming legislature on this as well. We spoke very heavily about what money laundering is and money laundering isn't. Essentially, look, if you are helping anybody facilitate moving money that has been got through ill-gotten gains to put it back into circulation, that is essentially money laundering. And it is a big problem. However, there's a very important point here, guys. Crypto is not the only way that money laundering occurs. And money laundering has occurred long since before crypto existed. So anybody who ever points out, says cryptocurrency is terrible, it enables criminals to do all kind of bad things, is usually talking about something they know little about. Wherever there is bad guys, there will be money laundering. And wherever there is new technologies, bad guys will adapt to that. That is a fact. When we think of cryptocurrencies, when we think of Bitcoin, this whole bad feeling and bad image originated from the Silk Road days. And if those of you who are familiar may remember, Silk Road was a website where you could buy things that no person should really be able to buy or should have a need to buy. Now, I am a free enterprise kind of person. I believe in cryptocurrencies, believe in the freedom it brings. I believe in the freedom to transact with whomever and however you want. However, there were some things that people don't ever really need to own that were kind of acquirable through Silk Road. And so we ended up with this legacy of bad guys being able to purchase things through Bitcoin, through Silk Road. And unfortunately, we as an industry still have to fight against that. However, now things have evolved a little bit more. If we take BitMex exchange and we take any exchange as an example, what they are accused of doing is enabling people to take funds that have been acquired through illegal means, process those funds, in this case, cryptocurrencies, and then acquire the cash back out. Now, if you can show where money has come from, it's effectively been laundered. Banks really care about transactions, where money's financed from, where money originates from, excuse me. So what we do is we're really concerned with when people can take some amount of cryptocurrencies, filter it through a body, and then effectively begin spending it, because bad guys being able to spend money is not a good thing. Now, money laundering is often viewed as a victimless crime. I've spoken to people before who say, look, so what? So some guys did an under the table deal and they wanted to get cash out. So what? Who cares? There's one thing that everybody needs to be aware of. Money laundering and financing really controls criminal activities on an international scale. When we think of really nasty things like people trafficking, weapons dealing, everything down to drugs. I mean, most people think of kind of, drugs and cartels and this, but it really does come down to money. Ultimately, that's why people are in crime. They want money, and to be able to use and spend that money is keeping them in business. Now, when we take this a step higher and we think of regimes, North Korea, Iran, that are all currently under sanctions, regardless of your political opinion or your political affiliation, there are bad things that are happening in the world, and bad people are getting financed. That's what we have to stop. That as an industry is something we also have to work together to stop. So when we talk about money laundering through exchanges, we may think, oh, there's a great amount of freedom there. Who cares? I want my Bitcoin to be transactable. I don't want to do any KYC. Why should I have to do KYC? And look, here is where we can talk about governments very freely. We know that governments have a problem with cryptocurrencies, but this problem mostly comes from money laundering. If you speak to any organization, any regulator, the SEC, the European Commission, FINMA, the SFA, Singapore, their biggest concern is bad guys spending their cash. And what we do is we manage that. We have to work with that, whatever we do. So we can take a couple of examples here. We can take the new European laws that have come into play, Anti-Money Laundering Directive 5, which came into play. Effectively, what this meant is that companies working in the crypto space had to register their organization and have to undertake KYC on their users. Now, I pick the United Kingdom FCA license as a great example of this. What this license does is it's a way for companies to say, look, we play ball. We're the good guys. We don't care that our users have to provide some form of ID, some form of information. And ultimately, guys, if you're using crypto, you should be prepared for that. And if you're not doing anything, then it really doesn't matter. Anything illegal, then it really doesn't matter. If you're concerned about taxation and you care about tax, well, I always explain to clients and people, look, there's a big difference between tax evasion and tax avoidance. Tax evasion is illegal. Tax avoidance is smart planning. So if you don't want to register somewhere because you're concerned about taxation, then you need to take some advice on that, because ultimately registering with organizations is not a problem. So when this new methodology came in and this new licensing network came in, it's awesome. And it's awesome because for the first time, cryptocurrency companies, that are looking to actually be above board can obtain a license which says, look, we're not part of this problem. We're not contributing to this. We're happy to have our clients manage. And this step is so easy. It's a simple registration. It's explaining your basic business model. It's explaining the processes that you will use, and it's collecting the data. It's a simple registration process, and you get a full FCA license. Other countries are deploying really similar things. Singapore, other member states within the European Union, obtaining these licenses flags up and says, look, it's so easy. These regulators aren't looking to restrict how much money is moved through, what's happening with that. They just want you to collect the information in case anything goes wrong. And I think that's a pretty cool thing, because at no time has anybody said, we're restricting cryptocurrency movements. In fact, the FCA license in the United Kingdom, which, by the way, I helped consult on, is so cool. It covers so many things. It covers crypto exchanges, ICOs, Bitcoin ATMs. Now, where in the world can you obtain a license to operate Bitcoin ATMs? The answer is the UK. And it's a way of saying, look, we are not part of the problem. So the reason we kick off with this is because it gives us great segue, as the Americans say, great segue, a great step into asking ourselves the question, why do exchanges not register? Now, you as a crypto user, I ask the question, why would you take your cryptocurrency and put it through an organization that doesn't require you to do any KYC? The answer is it's ease of use and it's privacy. And I respect both of those things. I really do, fundamentally. Now, the European directive and various other laws give you good leeway into that. It's about 750 euros a maximum that you can withdraw without doing any KYC. And there's various other steps that you can manage. But when you deal with a company that registers itself in a jurisdiction that doesn't want you to do any KYC, that just wants you to be free, the question is, why are you doing business with them? Now, again, I get the privacy, I get the understanding, but we've all seen what happens when those organizations shut their doors. When a hack occurs, your money's gone. And you find that there is a great parity between organizations that are licensing themselves and those that are obtaining insurance. And by the way, that exists. Custodian measures that offer insurance through companies such as Lloyd's of London, the biggest insurer in the world, they exist. Those are the types of exchanges that we set up, that we help orchestrate. And the reason we do that is because it's so easy. It's so seamless to jump through KYC, to show somebody your passport, here's me. That's it. That's all they need. And then you can freely trade in a much safer environment. When we start dealing with organizations that don't do any KYC or enable us to be very free, we end up potentially adding to the problem. And if that problem becomes bigger or becomes too much, the regulators do what they do and clamp down. And they will clamp down on crypto, which is what we don't want. Because the way I describe the market today is we have this fantastic parity between regulators and crypto. And most people say, it's because regulators don't really understand it. They don't get what they're doing. Guys, forget that. I've worked with government agencies, the SEC, the FBI, various. They understand crypto. They know what it is. They know what it does. And believe it or not, they like it. Hence why China has issued its own digital currency. Last week, China quietly issued $10 million worth of crypto in Shanghai. Nobody's talking about it. Russia, Venezuela, the US, the UK, all have different programs at different stages aimed around issuing government-led digital currency. And we love it. For us, that's great. That's adoption at its highest point, which is what we all want, which is where we should be. But we have to be realistic about this. So when we look at exchanges that don't undertake any KYC and operate in a location which doesn't enable that, we have to ask ourselves why. Now, there's a real important pause point here. And I do want to address this from the point of view of some exchanges and crypto firms. Again, I understand the necessity for tax dealing. The difference in those trade margins where you can save on taxes, totally understand it. There is no question here why that would even be in your business model. And when you, as a consumer, for the consumers watching this, work with an exchange, don't be put off by the fact that they're offshore. There's plenty of reasons why these organizations would be offshore. Do ask yourself the question why they don't have any kind of license. Now, that can all be orchestrated into a really nice tax-free model, tax-free-ish, but ask yourselves why they don't have it. And ask yourselves why you need to use a company that doesn't have any kind of license. When we look at this a little bit more deeply, and I think this is a really important thing here, it's easy enough to kind of say to ourselves, look, we have the right to do it, and we do. Cryptocurrencies give us a really free right to freely transact and trade. And I've explained to people so many times, when we discuss cryptocurrencies and we look at the laws, we are not going forward in time, we are going back in time. The reason being, we have the freedom to trade with each other that we have not had in hundreds of years. When we just traded gold with each other, gold was worth whatever it was worth if I got it in London and traded in Istanbul. And then I took my gold from Istanbul to Baghdad, to Beirut, to anywhere. That gold was worth whatever I negotiated with the person. And that is freedom. That is freedom of economics in its purest sense. Nobody's denoting how many decimal places it goes to. Nobody's denoting what it's worth. Nobody can denote whom or where I send it to. That is economic freedom. And that is what we have again. When I take my Bitcoin, if I go from Mumbai to Moscow or to Madrid, that Bitcoin is worth pretty much the same wherever I go with a little fluctuation. And that is awesome. I can take it on my wallet, in my pocket, trade it with people. And that is freedom of economics. And so getting that fine piece between we are working with regulators and we are keeping things above board and we are doing our own thing and going completely crazy and not following any rules is where we have to strike this fine line. And this is why I refer to it in a BitMex age, because it's a great example. There are other great examples out there, so many. If I was to draw a parity, I would draw a parity today between BitMex and Kraken. I don't care about their business models. I'm not going to comment on whether they're good exchanges. I'm not endorsing either of them. That is for you as users to get to know. However, what I will say is we have BitMex that's currently in their situation facing some major accusations. Then we have Kraken that's just been approved as Wyoming's first digital bank license with Wyoming's first digital bank license. I mean, that's two extremes, isn't it? Now, if you were to have the conversation and say, where are you going to put your money? Well, my argument would always be, I'm going with the guys that have got a license. And we have to really think about that. Now, I'm not saying that that is the be all and end all. And again, it's not an endorsement, it's a personal preference. But as a lawyer and as an avid user of cryptocurrencies, I use my common sense. And this is why whenever we see things that happen like this, we can't act surprised. And we do, as a community, have to really take a stand with this. I draw parity between this and other exchanges we've used, where we've run track and trace protocols using the wallets and the chains. And I've worked with government agencies where we've physically seen money go from a source that you wouldn't even think about into North Korea. Now, I was invited to speak at North Korea a couple of years ago. I politely declined it. Also didn't get clearance from the State Department, but that's another story. The main point is, look, that was directly used. Those funds, they didn't go to the people. They weren't used to feed hungry and homeless and starving people under what is arguably an oppressive regime, politics aside. What happened was that went directly to that country's regime to buy weapons, not food. We can't fool ourselves about that. So when you're transacting that Bitcoin and you're endorsing these freedom of exchanges, that's what you're signing up for. That's the side of this line you stand on. Now, again, nobody's impugning your freedom, but that's where you are. So when you manage that as an organization, you have to manage it by being realistic around your business process. Taxation, great. Using multiple license networks, fantastic. Go nuts. I'm not suggesting that you have to be licensed to the hills and spend $300,000 on licenses plus. I'm simply suggesting that, as an example, the UK FCA license, it's about $5,000. Why would you not get it as an organization? And as a user, why would you not do that quick check and just see who they're registered with, who they're licensed by? I mean, I tend not to give my money to organizations where I don't know who people are. It's just a simple business practice. And then as users, I think it's worth doing that due diligence. Now, this change only comes about when we put pressure. And that pressure, I'm speaking about it going towards the exchanges at the moment, but this pressure is twofold. We can also exert this pressure on regulators. A lot of what I do and a lot of what we do as a community is we are vocal to regulators. Guys, they are not looking to shut us down. That era has passed. They now understand that cryptocurrencies are here to stay. And unfortunately, I don't care whether it's a legacy coin, a security token, a shit coin, they are all here to stay and they are in our ecosystem and they have different rules that go with all three. And the awesome thing is, if you look at any of these new licensing networks, they completely understand that. Monaco's got great STO laws. The UK has great utility token laws. Dubai has fantastic hybrid laws. If all you have to do is research it and you find it. And in a truly international sense, remember I just gave examples about, Venice, Dubai, Moscow, all these different places you can freely transact your crypto. You can freely set up business there. And we have to leverage, we have to push those regulators, those governing bodies to understand it more. And that's why I always say, look, these regulators, these governing bodies work for you. Their job is physically to work for you. And so that's why I know it seems a little bit old school, but contact your legislator. The reason Wyoming in the United States here is so far ahead is because they took the time to speak to people. They worked with people like us. They worked with people like you. They understood it. They've come up with some great licenses. Other states have done similar. Other countries have done more. And if you simply believe that in your country, you should have more freedom, write to people, write to your politicians, write to your regulators, offer your services. Guys, they will take it. They will work with you on this. So my underlying message for this is, look, anti-money laundering in this new BitMex age that we face, where an organization that's massive is facing huge accusations against regulators, has the power to really turn this around. We all have the power to turn this around. It's something we should do. An organization, let me rephrase this, excuse me. This was part of the speech that I delivered the other week. If you are an organization that turns over more money than a bank, you should not believe that you are above the law. We are not all living in a Batman movie where evil villains get to run these massive corporations that don't have to follow the laws. It doesn't work like that. But at the same time, the laws aren't so oppressive that they can't comply with them. We can still do all that awesome stuff we want to do in the crypto space. We really can. We can do all that awesome stuff. And we can work with the regulators to do it. And they can help protect us. And that's why whenever I speak about dealing with anti-money laundering in a crypto age, it's the reason I kind of encourage it, because it's in everybody's interests. So if we really get some takeaways from this, what I want to do is I want to just kind of finalize and kind of end on this sentimental piece. Nobody's restricting your freedom as crypto users. Long may crypto reign, as far as I'm concerned. The most important thing is that you can maintain those freedoms. And with freedoms comes some serious responsibility. We've got the ability to shape things here. We are shaping this. It is coming down up. Regulators are not making this and the laws coming down. We are making this and the laws are coming up. And so we can do some pretty amazing things with crypto, and we can stand up and be counted for that. And we've seen that with projects. All you've got to do is look at projects that are helping people. I mean, I know ICOs that help build VR technology for doctors in Africa. I know projects that are helping feed people in Venezuela. I know projects that are doing amazing things all over the world. And all of that is thanks to crypto. But none of that is to do with money laundering. So my takeaway is this: when you think of money laundering, think of it as something completely separate. It's something we have to deal with, and we have a responsibility to manage as individuals, day in and day out. Seriously. I don't care if you're a trader, if you're a speculator, if you're an exchange, if you're an ICO, a token issuer, or somebody who just occasionally operates in crypto. Just deal with it. Just manage it well. And as long as we do that, this crypto ecosystem that we're creating, which, by the way, we all know is awesome, will look after itself. We can't build something and then let the bad guys take it over. To do that would be ridiculous. So we've all got this responsibility here. And if anybody has any questions, you can reach out to me, you can reach out to your regulator, and you can go and research it. None of this is hidden. This is all for you guys. This is all for you guys to work out. And I encourage you, communicate, work your strategy through money laundering processes, at least some kind of money laundering processes. Respect the fact that you have got a certain amount that's free from any anti-money laundering you can use. And be sensible about what you do. Taxation, freedom, none of that stuff's being impugned. That's all still manageable. We can help beat the bad guys and still have all our freedoms. And that's massively important. Guys, I'm going to wrap up there, and I want to thank you so much for joining me and for joining the BlockDown conference. It's been awesome, and I'm looking forward to speaking to some more of you about it. Feel free to message me or get in touch with me. You can do that via our website.